let me talk to you, because we're going to talk money in the bank. Money in the bank. Oh, daddy. Let's kick it off with men's Money in the Bank, shall we? Hoo-wee. This is going to be fun. Now, a little bit of context here. So, we've got Damian Priest. We've got Butch. Santos Escobar from the LWO. You got Shinsuke Nakamura. Ricochet. Logan Paul. The big superstar, megastar. No. You know who's really the megastar? LA Knight. Yeah. The Pops. Like, come on, guys. The Pops for LA Knight. Oh my God. You gotta figure he's gonna be on the go home for SmackDown in the UK for Money in the Bank, and then getting that pop, and then he's in Money in the Bank too. The megastar did it. He's in Money in the Bank. I cannot wait. Gotta see what's gonna happen here. This match. Okay, there are clear-cut potential winners, and there are those that are there to take spots. There are some options, and we're going to go through each of these together. FBE with a super chat. There are rumors that a QR code will appear during Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which will confirm Bray Wyatt return to match at SummerSlam. Again, just rumors. Yeah, they're giant rumors. I've heard that as well. I couldn't be more tickled by the idea of Bray Wyatt coming back. Then all I want is LA Knight in the background just going 2-for-1 special, dummy, and hits him and walks away. All right. Men's Money in the Bank. Overall, I have liked the build, and I'm gonna credit Triple H, King of Kings, Game of Games, coming in there, golden shoveling everybody the Vince McMahon likes. I like how he has built Money in the Bank this year, because traditionally with Money in the Bank, year over year, under Vince McMahon, you are left with like one clear-cut winner, and then that bothers me because everyone else just looks like they're there to do spots. And it gets a little irritating. You would sit there and be like, Logan Paul is Mr. Money in the Bank because he's the only one they built, as an example, if this was under Vince. But Trips does a good job, I think, of letting everybody shine. Since the draft, everyone has had decent builds. I should say most people have had decent builds. Like, the people that I think are not going to really win this thing, number one, Butch, Ricochet, they're, to me, really not going to be contenders for Money in the Bank. The two of them specifically are there, and I'll throw in Santos Escobar as well. I think those guys are there to hit the big spots, crash. Like, Butch is going to take a beating, Ricochet is going to fly and flippity flop, and Santos Escobar will do the exact same thing. Gilly Guy loves the cup. Love the cup! It's an Avengers mug. I got this in Disney, and coincidentally, I'm wearing a Disney shirt. I'm just feeling festive today. I'm feeling fun and fresh today, ladies and gentlemen. So I gotta say, Butch, Santos, and Ricochet are there to do the flips and the flops. Shinsuke, then you're left with Logan Paul, Shinsuke, LA Knight, Damian Priest. Now, you can throw in the chat, who is your pick? Your realistic pick here for Mr. Money in the Bank. Shinsuke is like, they haven't built him enough. When they did the draft, I got really excited with Shinsuke that they were going to push him to world heavyweight title spot, that he was going to get his music is all cleaned up. It's a mix of the old and the new, which I love. I thought they were going to really kind of push Shinsuke. I don't feel he's there yet. He's mixing it up with like Bronson Reed, which is great. I also feel like it doesn't look like they're going to do it, but I feel like Bronson Reed should be in this match. We got 7 guys for the men's. I really feel Bronson Reed should be in there. Be that big man. Take that Mark Henry spot, that Kane spot. You could really use a Bronson Reed in this to kind of level that out so you can take guys like Ricochet and throw them. But and also he's been feuding with Shinsuke. So I thought Bronson Reed should be in there, but Shin, I just don't see is gonna make it happen, daddy. No. Looking at the chat, Wagyu says, realistically speaking, LA Knight. I see a lot of LA Knights in the chat for what people want to do. Oh, it's gonna be interesting. Javi says that Reed will cost them the match. That's a good point too. You could end up with that situation where you're gonna have Bronson Reed come in and take out like Shinsuke to further their story. Question to you guys in the chat and in the comments: where's Bobby Lashley? Is Bobby just injured, or is he just off TV right now? Because this is a perfect Bobby Lashley match, but I gotta figure he's injured if he has not been around. Although I get a little worried when we talk about rumors of Bray Wyatt making a return and teasing a return. Could they go back and do Bray versus Bobby like they were going to do at WrestleMania and set that up for SummerSlam? Well, I digress. We'll talk about Bray Wyatt maybe in a little bit. Guys in the chat are saying he's just off TV. Well, he should be in Money in the Bank. Anyways, we're left with Logan Paul, Damian Priest, and LA Knight. Now, here's the thing. Let's talk Logan Paul for a minute. Mr. Paul is an interesting pick. I feel Logan Paul is an interesting one because if you give Logan Paul Money in the Bank, so I don't like the setup, and I'm not a big Logan Paul fan in terms of kind of like what he is. Like, he comes in, he does his match, he does his moves, and he's gone for 3 months, and then we'll see him again at Survivor Series or SummerSlam. We'll see him at Royal Rumble. There you go, and Mania. So I'm not a fan of like what his role is, because it's quote part-timer, but it's even less than that. It's high spot celebrity. And so you just kind of know what you're going to get from somebody who's going to be in this, who's not around week to week. And I guess my issue is I can't get invested because he's not there all the time. He randomly pops up on Raw because it's in Cleveland, so they could do that segment. And he's like, I'm a bigger star, so I can just be in Money in the Bank. And you're like, okay, well, in the world of WWE, sure, that makes sense. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense why he even had qualifying matches. But I digress. I get why he's there. You want him to do the big spots. I get why he's contracted, because he's worth millions and has the following and all that stuff, dummy. So I understand what we're doing here with him. And I understand that in the match, he's going to give us like that Ricochet moment like they did at the Rumble where they're going to collide. He's going to do the big spot. Through a ladder, through a table, whatever. Logan Paul is probably going to give you spot of the night. And I'm guessing it's going to be between him and Ricochet, so Ricochet can eat it. Because he's the only one in there, maybe Santos, but Ricochet's the only one that could really pull off a Logan Paul move, where it's like, I'm thinking Logan Paul, like, jumping between ladders, trying to do a giant splash off of the tippy top of like a double-sized ladder. He'll do something really cool. Would Logan Paul win Money in the Bank? Well, if he won Money in the Bank, here's the positive of that. If Logan Paul were to win, you get him walking around with the briefcase in everything he does. He's got his Impulsive show, the Impulsive podcast, gets millions of views. I'm thinking like Money in the Bank is sitting there in the background. He can show that off. You do all his content, interviews, everything, and he can represent WWE with Money in the Bank and talk constantly that he can cash in whenever he wants. And the plus side there is for WWE, it's exposure. It would get them a ton of FaceTime with the briefcase. You would also get the surprise element of the cash-in. This is one of the positives if you do end up going with a Logan Paul to win Money in the Bank. You do get a pretty good surprise out of it because he wins, runs away with that briefcase. He's a crappy heel, and people will groan over it. You're going to get heat, and then you have the surprise that Logan Paul could literally pop up at any moment. People wouldn't know when or where, and he could cash in. Would he win? Probably not. He shouldn't. But the plus is you give intrigue of, well, it's a big pay-per-view and it's Seth versus Finn or something. Oh, we think we know how this match is going to go down. But there is the element of Logan Paul could show up and try to cash in Money in the Bank. So there is some intrigue, guys, if you do have Logan Paul win this thing. And again, from a corporate WWE side, I think it makes a lot of sense and it makes them a lot of money. From a fan's perspective, it don't work for me, brother. The reason why is because it's just kind of silly. He's never there. He's never involved. He loses. Money in the Bank should be for somebody that is a rising star, that is about to make their way up, get elevated. We see his potential world champion, because if you're going to win a world title, you got to be around more than once a month. And they have the Roman belt for that. So Logan Paul can't really cash in on Roman, though. And you're not going to put it on Logan Paul for the world title because they got to keep that for people that are on TV every week. So it doesn't work having Logan Paul win Money in the Bank. There's too many downsides, I think. And I think fans would really revolt against it, because there's the two other names that would make a lot more sense. Damian Priest and L.A. Knight. Now, FB in the chat, thank you for your super chat. Don't hate me when I say this, but Logan is winning the briefcase on July 1st, cashing in at SummerSlam and Seth, and winning the championship, and he will lose it to Brock at Crown Jewel. That is a bold prediction, my friend. Very possible, because you could hot potato that belt. It's not a bad one, FB. Thanks for the support. And then we also talk about where you guys are saying in the chat, like Asio says, Logan has a 4-fight contract only too. Yeah, so you can't have him running around with Money in the Bank every week. He's got 4 matches. He can show up for some shows on Raw, SmackDown, and tease it, but I don't think we would see it. LA Knight, Damian Priest, that's what we're left with. And these are your 2 real candidates, in my opinion, for men's Money in the Bank. I think you end up with, you got 2, so let's talk LA Knight. Yeah, because a lot of us in the chat, comments, fans, we think LA Knight can and should win. There is a very, very good chance they could roll with LA Knight. LA Knight as just Mr. Money in the Bank works really well, in my opinion. You got a guy who can talk endlessly. You got a guy who's got all this charisma. He's the megastar. Holding that briefcase, it's like him with the $1 million championship. You could get awesome promos from him with all of this for months. Remember, he can go and try and go for both brands. He can go for the world title. He can go for the Universal or the Undisputed title. I think it would make more sense. LA Knight goes for the World Heavyweight title, which makes it interesting that if he did get the briefcase, probably go in that direction. It would make the most sense. But he could float between both brands and tease cash-ins for both. And it would just be fun. And I think he's a fun choice for Money in the Bank. Do I see LA Knight as heavyweight champion? Yeah, I do. I do, but not like a long 6-month dominant reign. LA Knight's character is interesting. Very interesting. Because he's still, like, he's a heel in the traditional sense. But he is over like anything else with the crowd. The pop he got on Raw for showing up and doing his shtick, getting the crowd to chant yeah, and his name, and the pop of his music, it was massive. And it was a bigger response than everybody else in Money in the Bank. And he out-promoed every single person that walked out there to do a promo, including Logan Paul. So, and Logan Paul is a decent talker. Like, he's good for not being a wrestler. But LA Knight dummied, haha, yeah, everybody in the promo. LA Knight would be more fun, in my opinion, as World Heavyweight Champion or as Mr. Money in the Bank, because of how many months you could go by, him teasing, him getting into feuds. He could get into a feud, a light one with Seth, with Finn, with all these guys towards the top now. You elevate him right away so he gets out of this lower mid-card thing where he's got a match against Kofi. He'll have a match against Montez Ford. He's got these random matches. Now you instantly elevate him to almost the main event scene. LA Knight, to me, and a lot of people too, is this mixed hybrid of, people say Austin and Rock. I lean towards the Rock. But people also, I hear criticism online that, You can't really make LA Knight face of the company champion because of what LA Knight the character is. He's like Teflon. Like, you can't outdo him. You can't make him nervous. You can't make him like shy away from a fight. You could throw everything at him and try to throw everything negative towards him, and he's just like, I'm the megastar, screw you, dummy. And boom, it doesn't matter what you say. People are like, well, that's hard to make him a world champion like that. How are you gonna pull this off? What's the stories you could tell of him versus like Seth, Finn, Damian Priest, anybody? I feel you could tell a lot of good stories with it, because he is, to me, a lot more like The Rock back in the day. And I'm talking 98, 99 Rock, where he's just chewing everybody out on the mic. He literally has a similar cadence and voice of The Rock, naturally speaking. If you listen to Eli Drake talk, and you close your eyes, he sounds like Dwayne Johnson, which is funny. So I think you could get away with it because he's got a little bit more of The Rock, and you could give LA Knight a 3-month reign as world champion. See what happens. And I think that's kind of the beauty of the World Heavyweight title, is you could see what happens. Roman's belt is locked with Roman. Ain't going nowhere. Not until Jey Uso or Cody Rhodes is beating him, or The Rock is beating Roman Reigns. Ain't nobody touching that. Money in the Bank this year is for the World Heavyweight title. Guaranteed. Based off everybody we see here. That's where I feel LA Knight could really be a great choice, because you can hot potato that belt like you did in Attitude Era. And I think Triple H is, in my eyes, is more inclined to do that, because when he was at the top of the game, no pun intended, but when he was at the top, they hot potatoed the world title. The WWF title was hot potatoed between him, Austin, Rock, Triple H. Mankind won the belt. Like, on Raw, they really flipped that belt around. And as much as we love the legacy of The Rock and Austin, they were not champions very long for all of their respective title reigns. When you look back at the history of the WWF championship in the Attitude Era, Austin didn't have a very long run in general, but his title reigns themselves were not long. They would flip that belt, and Austin would drop it to Taker, and then Kane would grab it, and then The Rock has it, and Triple H has it. I'm talking like prime Triple H in the Attitude Era. His reign of terror with the World Heavyweight title, big gold belt, that was something else. And in retrospect, it was kind of cool. You can give LA Knight the world title, and you can make it happen for 3 months, let him run for the summertime, all the way through to, say, Survivor Series, and you could drop it back to Seth. You could put it on Damian Priest. You could put it on other people. But you get amazing promos between him and anybody else. And that's why I think LA Knight, is a shoo-in for Money in the Bank. Mostly, he is over, like, so much. And if you give it to the crowd in the UK, they will pop, they will lose their minds. There's the potential for the cash in that night in the UK. Social media buzzes. Like, everyone goes crazy for that. Now, the last pick. Damian Priest, Judgment Day. Damian Priest, I feel, as I talk through LA Knight, who is like kind of my 1A, Damian Priest is 1B, and honestly, I could flip them in a moment based on just how I feel. I think you could really get Damian Priest winning. I think Damian Priest winning Money in the Bank makes the most story sense, because you have Finn versus Seth right now. And we'll talk about that match in a bit. Damian Priest has, I think, the most upside here and can tell a really compelling story throughout the year as Mr. Money in the Bank, because there's the tension in Judgment Day. Finn, Damian Priest already have tension in there. The big scenario I can see is Damian Priest wins, and you could either have him cash in that night. Seth gets destroyed. He's already been going too hard, too fast with the open challenges. And I think he fights Finn. Finn loses. Like, Seth squeaks out a win. And then Finn destroys him again. More coup de grace. Beats him to no end. Seth is completely destroyed. Everyone's anticipating it. Boom, Damian Priest comes out and picks up the win, grabs the title, and when he wins, he does a Razor's Edge, destroys Seth, and meanwhile, Finn is standing there looking at him like, I did it. I beat Seth. I destroyed him. You're coming in, and you're just picking up the pieces. And I think that tells a really cool story, because now you have all of this internal bubbling dynamic and everything of the two of them colliding between them in Judgment Day. And I think that tells a very, very cool story for a long time. And you get more mileage out of it. The problem I have with Damian Priest is just his promos. Is he world champion material right now? If Damian Priest wins, is he likely to hold that belt for a long time? Or is it more of, let's test the waters and let's see how he does as world heavyweight champion? Again, through the summer, like an LA Knight. And I think you could do that. My only qualm, I guess, with Damian Priest is he's not the strongest on promos yet. He does a fine promo, but he doesn't hook me. So I feel like you get a lot more fun out of LA Knight, but I think Damian Priest tells a really cool story with the Judgment Day tension and then breaking up. Or he doesn't cash in right away, and you milk that and you get the Judgment Day turmoil and tension as you go week over week. Right now, 1A, 1B, guys, LA Knight and Damian Priest. Those are my picks for men's Money in the Bank. Let me know. Let me talk to you. Yeah.